Hello, students. So let's do some word problems in solving equations using multiplying and dividing. Okay? Make sure you watch my other video in how to solve equations using these two operations before watching this video. So, first one, write the word sentence, write the word sentence as an equation. Then you solve the equation. So you're doing two things. You write the equation first and then you solve it. So let's do the first one. It says a number multiplied by 1/2 is -5/12. Again, a number. Do we know what that number is? We don't. Multiplied by 1/2 is -5/12. So let's break it down. Let's break this down. If we do not know what number this represents, then we use a variable. So let n represents a number. Multiplied by 1/2 means the result is or equal to -5/12. So when you multiply n times 1/2, the product would be 1/2 n is equal to -5/12. Remember, when we write the product of a variable and a number, the number is written first. So the coefficient first, then the variable. This could also be written as, if you want it could also be written as n over 2 is equal to -5/12. These two would be the same thing, okay? It's the same thing. Now, we have written the equation. Next thing is to solve it. So let me rewrite it so it won't be too confusing. So when we solve this, what did we say? It can either be you use reciprocal or you use multiplications. Either way, the goal is to isolate n. So for this case, let's use reciprocal. So let's do 2 over 1 and do 2 over 1. Remember, we need to undo the operation. Okay, since this is a fraction, we can use the reciprocal. So 2 times 2 is 2, 1 times 2 is 2, or just simplifies to 1. Now, I'm going to use the cross simplifying. We need to get used to that. Look at my numerator, 2, and my denominator, the opposite denominator, 12. What factor can I divide into 2? I can divide into 2 and 12 evenly, and that would be 2. So we divide both by 2. So 2 divided by 2 gives you 1, and 12 divided by 2 would give us 6. Now let's simplify, because we can't do anything with 5 and 1 because they're prime numbers. There's no common factor aside from 1 that we can divide evenly to -5 and 1. So now -5 times 1 would be -5 over 6 times 1 is 6. So our answer is -5/6. Now, what if you use this equation to solve? If you have n over 2 is equal to -5/12, you would have the same answer because you're going to multiply by 2 over 1. Now remember, this is a sidebar. Don't get confused. I'm just solving this if in case my equation looks like this. Both are right though. Now this would be simplified to n, and you will get the same answer for -5/12 times 2 over 1 is the same thing as what we have here. So this is equal to -5/6. Simplified version. Don't forget. Now, let's do number 2. You can replay number 1 again if you have to. Number 2. Remember, we need to write the equation and solve it. A quotient of a number and 2/10 or 0.2 is -2.6. So a quotient, when you say quotient, what does that mean? Yep, we divide a number. Do we know what that number is? No, we don't. Let's represent by a variable. And we know what these values are. So let's write down our equation. So a quotient of n and a number. So we're dividing n divided by 0.2. Now, can you use this division symbol instead? Yep, you can. You can do n divided by 0.2 is equal to negative 2.6. But I prefer that you use a fraction. Okay, it's easier to visually see it. So n divided by 0.2 is equal to negative 2.6. So that is our equation. Now let's solve it. So n over 0.2 or 2/10 is equal to negative 2.6. Again, we need to isolate the variable and undo division by multiplying, by using multiplication. So we multiply by 0.2, and the other side we multiply by 0.2. This simplifies to just n is equal to negative times a positive is a negative. 2.6 times 0.2 or 2/10 will give you negative 0.52 or 52 hundredths. And you are done. Now let's do number 3. So you earn $7.50 per hour at a fast food restaurant. Now, you earned $123.75 last week. Question: how many hours did you work last week? So what are we looking for? The number of hours. So that's our missing value that we need to find out. So let H represents the number of hours you worked last week. So number of hours worked last week. So what do we know? What information do we know? We know that last week you earned how much? $123.75. Now, that comes from working for how many hours? We don't know, right? We don't know how many hours you work, but what we do know what your rate is, and that is $7.50 per hour. So that's the rate that you have, and then you earn $123.75. This is your rate. Now let's write this: 750 times H is equal to 123.75. Let's solve for H. What do we do? Absolutely. We're going to divide, use inverse operation. Since this is being multiplied, we're going to divide by 750 because we need to isolate H. So H is equal to, if you divide that, if you divide 123.75 divided by 750, and you're going to get 16.5 hours. So that means that last week you worked for 16.5 hours, which earns you $123.75. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's move on to number 4. Okay, so a rectangle. So let's draw a rectangle. Oops, let's try this one. So a rectangle. Okay, that's a rectangle. All right. Now, a rectangle has an area of 1/2 square inch. So that means the area is 1/2 square or inch squared. Okay, that's the area. Now, that's the area of a rectangle. So the length of the rectangle, now when you say area, it means what, by the way? It means we do length times width, right? Length times width is equal to area. And we know the area is 1/2 inch squared, as the information stated here. Now, what else do we know? We know that the length of a rectangle is 3/8 inch. So make sense of the problem. So the length would be 3/8 inches or 3/8 inch. That is the length. Do we know the width? We do not. So we do not know the width because it's asking for the width. So let W represents the width of the rectangle. Let's always make sure you always um, label your variable. Okay? Now, length times width is equal to the area. So that means 3/8 times the width would give you 1/2 inch squared. Now, our goal is to isolate the variable. Let's use the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply 3/8 by 8 over 3. Whatever do on one side, I do on the other. So 8 over 3. Now, this becomes simplified to just 1 or 1w is equal to, again, we can multiply straight across, then simplify, or just use cross cancellation. So look at the numerator and its opposite denominator. What number or what factor can you evenly divide into 8 and 2? And that's going to be 2. Make sure you know your multiplication facts. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Now we can multiply straight across. 1 times 4 is 4 over 1 times 3 is 3. So 4/3 inch or inches, or 1 1/3 inches. Why 1 1/3? 3 goes into 4 one time, 1 left over 3. The denominator stays the same. So it's going to be 1 1/3 inches is the width of the rectangle. Okay, hopefully that helps. Number 5. So the perimeter of a square. So I'm going to draw a square. Ooh, okay. Diamond. Okay, I'll do a square. The perimeter of a square. Okay, that's a square. A perimeter of a square is 26.46 inches. That's the perimeter. What is the side length of the square? So what is the length of one side of the square? Now remember, a square has 4 equal sides, right? A square has 4 equal, oops, there's no I, 4 equal sides. So that means side, oops, side plus side plus side plus side. So this is the perimeter of the square, because perimeter means we add all sides. So S side 1 plus side plus all 4 sides added together will give you 26.46 inches. And it's asking you what is the side length of a square. So if I were to simplify, what's S plus S plus S plus S? Simplify that. How many S's do we have? We have 4 S's is equal to 26.46 inches. So since we're solving for S, what do we do with 4? Absolutely, we're going to undo multiplication, because adding 4 S's is the same thing as multiplying S by 4. So we're going to divide by 4, divide by 4. So 4 divided by 4 gives you a 1S, or just S. 26.46 divided by 4 will give you, what would be? It will give you 6.615 inches. If you multiply this by 4, you'll get 26.46. Now, what's the proper way of saying this? It's 6 and 615 thousandths, okay? Easiest way, 6.615. So hopefully that helps. Review the video if you need to understand some of the problems that were discussed. And also make sure you review how to cross simplify as well. Make it easier. Hope this helps.